Hey everyone, I'm Katie O'Lady on Twitter, and I started doing stuff with Carrie for Deadlands with Amber.
I'm Eli. I am one of the members of Mayday Roleplay. We do a bunch of different horror-based streams like Delta Green, Vampires the Masquerade is what we're doing right now.
I've listened to all of Doom to Repeat, but I still
Oh,
have more
So
stuff to
good.
do. But yeah, I'm like
So
up to
good.
date on it.
yeah.
I love that
I will
one.
scream Doom to repeat from the rooftops for the rest of my
I'm
life.
obsessed with it. Yeah. So
I'm Amber. I know everyone here. But I guess I do a little bit of everything. I am everywhere right now. I'm so fucking like I'm everywhere right now.
Wow, this is shiny. Didn't realize that. That's fun. Hi. I'm like this all the time. I think I come into every session with a thing, and this is my thing today. I'm Liz, and I'm currently DMing Stormboard's Curse, which is a 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons homebrew pirate themed adventure with a diverse software cast. I'm programmed to say that.
The world is dying. Slowly. Imperceivably. The magic fades, spark by spark. The grass is losing its vibrant green, but it's so subtle. You wouldn't even know it unless you were looking for it. Your task is anything but simple, if it can be done at all. We have discovered rips, tears in the realms that are leaking into other realms. Again, imperceivable to most. There is no estimating how long it's been happening, how long the rips have been dripping pieces of worlds into other worlds. But the disruption had to be caused by someone or something, in which case it can be stopped. Your task is anything but simple, but it is this. Travel to the 4 major elemental planes of existence. Those are the planes with the most traversable doors. See what you can find. Fix the tears. Find the problem. Save us all. Our scene opens in a swirl of flame. A flame that swallows you and steals your breath, but not a flame that burns. And you feel a pull from the center of your core, and then the flames turn into vines. And it's over, just as quickly as it began. You open your eyes to see that you have left the elemental plane of fire, and you now reside on the elemental plane of earth. You had found the first tear in the plane of fire, and with the help with the leaders there, it was patched with hardened, molten rock. Finding the tear in the plane of fire was easy. It stood out, and it steamed from the temperature change. But you're not seeing anything so obvious here. Not yet, anyways. You know that the magic bringing you to each plane is meant to drop you at a location with a source of energy or power, so it has to be near. As you all stand here, having just arrived in the elemental plane of Earth, go ahead and describe your characters.
I am Vex Jarasco. I don't want to be here. I was voluntold by my parents. I am a Circle of Wrath druid. It's like its own thing, whatever. My dad is a healer. My mom is an evocation wizard. They're both heirs to their own houses, and apparently I'm not showing enough initiative, so I have to decide if I'm going to follow in one of their footsteps. So that's why I'm here, and I can't wait to be done. And I've got like black hair. I wear a lot of dark makeup around my eyes. Basically, otherwise, I've just got some very expensive leather armor. It looks really distressed, but it's actually like a lot of money. It's not any better than any other leather armor, but you don't know that. You've probably never even heard of it, but whatever. That's it.
Capine is, her wisdom is off the charts. She is seen ends of time and space and the Feywild that no one's really quite seen. And she's gained a lot of insights and as a satyr, you tend to default to follow the whimsy. You tend to default to follow your dreams, really. And that's exactly what happened to Capine. She's returned to this plane after spending quite some time lost in the Feywild. One might say Fey lost. She's a satyr about 5'6", 5'7", round horns that curl, round like cream-colored horns that curl back and up and like a tightly curled C. She's got like in her skin is like a nice like russet brown, with like her hair and like a red bob. Around her waist is like a swishing green skirt that has like streams of like purples and blues, and she's constantly carrying at least 3 instruments.
Laka is also a satyr from the circle of the spores, but unlike how dreamy and like I guess bubbly and content as Capine is, Laka is very poised and comes off like they've been here for a long time, or has like surrounded themselves with something like very old or something far and deep into like the woods and the forest. They're much taller. They're very tall. They're nearing like 6 feet. Older looking, has a lot of gray painted in their hair and in their fur. They have like a white and blackish tint curled horns that curl around the sides of their head. They have like a head lay that's made out of like old moss and stuff like that. A lot of their clothes is made out of like tapped and pressed down wood that was made into cloth that's been kind of wrapped around as a sash around their waist and stuff like that. And then they have like little bits of like fungus or drift, like old rotting wood kind of laced around, like old wood used for like a type of like leather like armor around their chest and stuff like that, but it's just kind of hanging, and like they even have like old vines and stuff like that kind of like circled and like drip dangling from parts of their horns and stuff like that, but they kind of just stand there very gracefully leaning up against a giant wooden staff that they have, and just kind of enjoying, just being poised and graceful.
The first thing you will notice about Reese, that she's an absolute unit. She is probably pushing 6 feet, but maybe not quite there, just tall enough where most people might have to look up unexpectedly, and that's I think a large part of her is the unexpected. While quiet and sort of resolute, she can be very intimidating, mostly because of her appearance. She has this, her skin is dark, but it's almost washed out. Her natural melanin almost like infused with a little bit of gray. Upon her face and her arms, where they're visible beneath leather bracers and pieces of scrap metal that have been fashioned into like just bits and pieces of armor and protection. There are what at first looks like some sort of paint on her, but it's very obvious when you get close that they are like actual living stars, and that portions of her skin they turn into just like this black mist, as if like she doesn't have any edges. Her edges are fuzzy. She has on one arm in particular a very bulky brazier, where the other one seems normal. This one is very intricately carved and painted, and extends up onto her hand into like claws. She wears a lot of tanned leather. She has white dreadlocks that go down her back and down her front as well. And she's kind of pulled them out of her face a little bit. And that same odd coloration of her skin occurs on her face as well. And she's very stone-faced. And for someone so beefy, she seems to almost disappear naturally into the surroundings around her, wherever she may be, as if like the natural world claims her a little bit if she stands too still. She's always on the verge of being taken away.
Carrie, I forgot to say, I'm a halfling. So like
I'll just cut that in there.
yeah, right. So like about 3.5 feet tall around all these other.
You see before you earthen structures that resemble like stalagmites and stalactites, but in much larger scales than you've ever seen in caves or caverns. They stretch up into the skies. Some seem to like burrow down into the ground itself, and they're all covered in vines and lush leaves. There are webs weaved with plant life to create bridges from one section to the other. Some are kind of like braided together to make ladders. And the earth itself is rich browns and tans and rocks of like slate grays and clay-like reds. It's almost like a painting. Like if someone were to just take one solid color and paint something, that's how like fine a lot of these colors are looking. They're very specific. The sky above you, greens and blues, almost like a galaxy swirl in the sky instead of clouds. Druids, what would you like to do?
That's a big question, Carrie.
It is. We immediately start PvP. No.
Vex is probably like looking bored, and if nobody says or does anything, she'll just kind of like start to walk around and check out the stalactites, stalagmites, whatever. And she's like kind of more excited than she used to be after the first one. So she's like kind of trying, but she still doesn't really want it to look like she's trying. So just playing it cool.
Is there any like danger afoot or like anything notable to see when you just kind of casually look around?
Yeah, just glancing around, it just seems very peaceful, but you also don't see anyone. You don't see like any animal life or signs of people. I mean, you see like the ladders and the bridges and everything, but it's just very quiet and peaceful right now.
It's too quiet.
Well, perhaps I should break up the silence with a song. Would anyone be opposed to? I could pan flute. What's the feeling?
Just could it be a little edgier than the last 17 that you did? They're very flowery. You're very sweet, but like, do you have anything that's like got like a little bit of an edge to it?
This is the thing. I mean, if you have edges on your pan flute, it's gonna like cut your lips if you play on it, or if there's like
okay. Capine, I don't mean literally edgy. I mean like, you know, like a little bit harder. Wait, okay, you might take that literally too. I'm trying to think of some words. Like about a subject that's not so sweet and lovey-dovey.
Do you have any breakup songs, Capine?
There you go.
Taylor Swift on the pan flute.
Like, did anyone ever hurt you?
Amber, don't reference the mountain goats. Amber, don't reference the mountain goats. I know I'm a satyr. I know I'm a satyr, but I'm not gonna do it.
Reference the mountain goats. Do it.
Do it.
Make it canon.
Do it.
Well, there is a song called "Some Offspring" about a breakup about a couple that argued over one too many things, and they had like a couple of children instead of no children. But I don't think it's fitting for us in a cave.
Okay, just sing whatever you want.
Yeah, she's gonna go into that song though. Peer
Is
pressure.
Is it also just like an upbeat version of like, do you actually play?
She
something
pulls
that's-
out the lyre. Yeah, she pulls out the lyre. I'm sorry, viewers
Do it,
at home,
Amber.
I'm
No.
not gonna do this.
Just kidding, just kidding.
Yeah, no, she's gonna pull out a lyre and just, play like it is in a minor key, so there's that.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, it is in a minor key and it is in waltz time. So a little bit definitely edgier and a little bit more syncopated than like your standard like major key 4/4 time kind of thing. And it is, yeah, just the sad tale of a melancholy couple doomed to death. I don't know. Making it up.
Actually, that gave me an idea. The part about like them being buried next to each other, like maybe we should dig. So Vex is just gonna cast her cantrip Mold Earth and just start like excavating the ground a little bit to see what the soil is like and if anything is like immediately beneath the surface.
Can I also just do like a general vibe check, magical or otherwise, while we start disturbing things? I'm afraid I know the code here.
Sure. While you're vibe checking, Vex, what does the what does it look like? What exactly like?
So it's kind of like I don't really have to do that much. I just kind of like hold my hand out, like toward the ground, and I'm holding on to my wand that I have also in the other hand, and I'm just kind of like guiding where I want the earth to be removed. And I try to do it like I just try to look as bored as I can about it. But the earth is just like scooping up as if somebody were digging it with a shovel, but at a really fast pace. Or maybe like, what it looks like when you see like a groundhog burrowing under the ground, kind of like that.
Okay. And are you just kind of like staying in one area, or are you just putting like a line through
It's kind of like, that like S symbol that starts out as 3 lines and then 3 lines below it, and then she like connects all the sides and then eventually just like fills it all in.
Amazing.
Did you draw that?
Amazing.
Hold that up again. Yes.
Yes.
That's awesome. So yeah, she's kind of just like doodling like you would on a book or something.
All right. So Reese, are you wanting to do like a just general like perception check for this, or are you actually wanting to use a spell?
You asked me great questions. I think we'll stick with perception first. If only I could read my modifier. That is a 7. So that's a dirty 20.
Nice. So as Vex is like starting this S symbol, you are kind of just glancing around. You get the feeling that wherever this rift is, it's probably not buried under anything, because things will have to move in and out of it.
Right.
So you're kind of like looking up to the skies a little bit, and you're noticing gradually as more and more earth is just being like shoved up from Vex's spell, you're seeing little fragments of it as it flies up just be sucked away.
Interesting. Okay. I will gesture to Laka because I assume Laka is being dignified. As Capede is absolutely jamming. I'm getting a brain cell vibe here. I'm gonna gesture to you in the direction that the dirt is starting to fly. Not just silent.
I think Locke is going to see the dirt. Is it going? I'm sorry. Is it going a specific direction or?
It does seem to be, yes. It seems to be like drifting up towards one of the land masses.
I think Locke is going to see the direction that the dirt is flying off to, and I think Locke is just going to start casually walking that direction because it just feels like that's the place to be or place to go. Like it's a sign or an answer that the dirt is telling us.
Reese has been told that she's not very people friendly and it hurt her feelings. So while her instinct is to immediately follow Laka, she will stop and like recite a mantra to herself of like to be inclusive of other people, and then turn back to Kabine and Bex. The dirt's moving. Rift. The rift. We should go, and then just keep going.
You're like, oh, sweet, and then you put the last line to like finish the S.
Yeah.
Like sign it too.
Yeah.
I love it.
Heading over towards this landmass, it's almost like a what is that called? Like a Jacob's ladder.
Oh yeah.
Sort of thing. Made from all of these braided vines, and it looks strong, and like as you even hold on to like the first couple of rungs, it's strong. It's almost like, you know how easy it is to break like a dead branch, but then how hard it is to break a living one. It's sort of like that, like these are living vines, and you feel confident that you can easily traverse up this ladder. Is Laka heading up first?
Yeah, Laka's just captivated and enthralled and wanna know the gold at the end of this rainbow.
Wait for everybody to go ahead of me.
Okay. Yeah, Reese brings up the end of the line here, and there's kind of a moment where like we're seeing all of you climb up this ladder, and then the camera like pulls back and just keeps pulling back and kind of like emphasizes how far up the ladder really goes and how small you seem kind of climbing up this thing. And it probably takes a little while for you to reach the top, and you are reaching basically like a flat surface, almost like if you flipped a mountain upside down and you're standing on like the floor of it basically, and you are climbing up onto this surface. It probably only stretches out 400 or 500 feet, but as you're peeking over this surface, you see the rift. You can see the rift almost in the center of this thing. You see it's like the best way that I can describe it for the players is like in movies and stuff, how you see like a hole breach in like a ship in space. How like, you know, the air is just sucking, stuff's blowing around. There's no noise though. It's completely silent, and you just see any bit of dirt or loose leaf that falls off just immediately sucked into this rift itself. And you all climb up and are able to see this.
Oh, this is so exciting. It's like when I got sucked into the Feywild. Oh my goodness, is that where it's going to take us this time?
I don't think we should go in it.
No, we should not go in it, Kabine. You don't need to get lost again.
No, but listen, we'll never know what's on the other side unless we go in and see where everything's going.
Counter argument. No.
Think about it this way. Like, if you want to achieve your dream of like writing this epic song about these 4 rifts, if you get sucked up into some other realm and never come back, you're not going to be with us when we close the other 2.
Those are 2 really compelling arguments, especially the no.
Dean, I will make you a
refrain for
deal.
now.
I'll make you a deal. If you can resist the urge to touch very obviously dangerous things, especially if they are glowing, I will play the flute for you. Reese has a bone pan flute on her hip that she very obviously does not use. And she gestures to it. If you don't touch anything dangerous.
Okay, I swear. Yes, okay, fine. Oh, that is very generous of you.
I really don't want you to die.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I look forward to your song.
I don't, but I look forward to you being alive to hear it. This is good for Reese. I'm so proud of her.
And what is Vex doing?
She's like really examining this sort of wind tunnel thing, trying to figure out how they can block it. Doesn't seem like dirt has any effect on it, so it seems like it would just tear up the earth. Trying to look around and see if there's any other I guess natural material other tis this like a true mountain? Is there stone?
Yeah, there's stone. There's some plant life, like the vines and everything, but it's typically like stone and dirt.
Well, might be able to mold some of that stone, but I don't know. Maybe the vines? Is anybody good with plants?
Would you let me use Earthbind to try to use that instead of like binding a creature, binding this whole together, like try to sew it together shut with it?
Yeah, how does that is that a
It requires a success on a strength saving throw.
Okay.
It's actually never mind. It's meant to reduce speed. That doesn't help. Never mind.
I mean, I like the idea, so I
Can I either, because I also have that spell, also spend the spell slot to assist or cast guidance? Whichever one feels better.
Okay. What if I make like a big stone shape, and you cast the bind on that would keep it in place in front of the hole, and then like also use the guidance to help make the bind stronger?
Sure.
I could cast hallucinatory terrain and create an illusion, but I don't know if that would actually affect the physical effects of this rift.
It kind of covers the problem, but doesn't give us the solution.
Right.
Yeah.
We could do that to keep people away from it.
Wonderful. I love it. So
I am guiding both hands. Just
okay. I am going to. This is not how D&D works at all, but I am going to. What your guidance gives? What kind of bonus?
1d4 for an ability check, and it can be used before or after the roll.
Okay, I'm gonna use that like a bane to
Cool.
my strength save for the portal itself.
I love it. You just reminded me I need to roll something very fundamental for my class right now. Thank you. Don't worry about it.
Awesome. So I was rolling that strength save, and I rolled a natural 4, and I rolled a 3 on my d4. So it doesn't even matter what bonus I'm given to this thing. I'm calling that a fail.
Well, at first it kind of looks like a face hugger, like it's kind of like over the hole like that, but then as you watch it, it closes in, more stone starts to form, like, and I can't really like put a lock on. Normally I could put a lock on it if it was a doorway, but since this is different, I can't. So that's pretty much it for now. until the bind goes on.
All right, so yeah, that comes up. You're kind of like probably like holding it there. And Reese, what does it look like as you are guiding this next spell?
So excited for this. So part of Circle of Stars, at a certain level, you have woe and you have wheel as things that you can either add or subtract mechanically to allies or enemies rolls as they are within you, because it's the will of the cosmos or whatever. I used it to make an emo big lady. So Reese, watching everyone start to get to work on this, and we've been together for a little bit now, Reese begins to cry very silently. These it's almost spectral white tears as the star freckles that she has melt. And as they do, her hands begin to glow. Yes, silver. I can read silver. And she comes over to Vex and Laka and just very gently places her hands on your shoulders. And you feel almost like that sense of dread before you do something wrong, because I got woe, so I'm sad. And that feeling, though friendly, encourages you to be more careful about what you're doing, and you are guided. I love emo characters.
I think Laka will kind of take that woeful feeling and kind of just take it for what it is and kind of embed it deep inside them as they lift up their staff, and then they just like strike the earth, and as they do, it kind of just all these like golden ripples kind of ripple out from it, as they're imbuing the earth around them with magic. And as it's like rippling, it eventually like ripples over the stone and kind of just makes these golden energy rings that kind of wrap around the stone and kind of even like push the stone down and like embed itself into the earth, where it's kind of locked and secured in place.
Yeah, and as that happens, like Vex, you feel that you can like release that stone as it's like locking into place. And Capine, tell us how it looks as you basically, as their spells are finishing, you kind of stepped through them.
Oh, I actually don't end up casting hallucinatory terrain. Yeah, I think Capine watches all of this happen and realizes tricking people into like a false sense of security with hallucinatory terrain is probably not the best idea for right now. If what if the rift reopens, right? And so Capine's just gonna be just say, I appreciate all of the work you all are doing and all of the effort you all are doing. I'm not gonna do anything right now, but great job.
I'm proud of you.
I cast moral support.
Laka's just gonna put it like pat Capine's head.
And to your knowledge, your work here is done. You have, I'll say you can decide which of you has it. It's basically like a medallion sized symbol. Much like the key in the mummy. And it has basically like two different parts to it that you can shift. And as you're shifting it, it shows the like symbol for whatever elemental plane you'd like to go to. And then you basically push it down, and that is what brings you into the next plane. So currently it's on Earth. And if you would like to, if any of you specifically are like, oh, I totally grabbed that, or if you want to designate anyone to have carried that, you can...
I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, not me.
Yeah, that seems right. Yeah, so you can pull that out, and you do see the symbol for Earth has kind of like faded a little bit, as if the magic isn't as unstable anymore. and you're able to kind of click that over to air.
Are we ready to go? As I like click it over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. I'm gonna switch it over to the air, and then I'm gonna activate it to transport us.
All right. You push it, and earth and rock and vines swarm around you like a tornado, just swallowing you, and then they thrust you into the clouds and the wind. You just hear wind rushing past your ears. And then you stand atop a floating structure. The wind is just blowing hard and whistling. And eventually you kind of hear like the crumbling of the earth as it's just falling down around you. You look around, you see nothing but clouds in every direction. You look down, you're standing on clouds. You look over, the horizon is clouds. There's like a little bit of like blues and orange and just various colors like peeking through them in certain places, but all you hear is wind. And it doesn't take you long to spot the rift, because that's the source of the wind. And this is the biggest tear you've seen so far. Water is pouring in from this tear. It's almost like the tear itself is in the shape of like two claw marks almost. So you can see like two separate waterfalls basically coming down from this tear. It's beautiful to look at. And you all find yourselves standing there just awestruck as this waterfall is falling, but before it can hit anything, it like evaporates into mist. And you can see as it's coming down, just mist flying over in another direction. I'm going to say you're kind of caught just looking at it for a moment before the first of you breaks the silence.
Was it? When you say claw marks, is that a reference point for our brain, or does it actually look like claw marks?
It's more of like a reference point for your brain. Like,
Okay.
It does just look like two tears all the way across there.
Okay. I'm
Like-
paranoid.
Yeah, like as if something like clawed the clouds, basically, if that was...
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Would I be able to do maybe an Arcana check or something along those lines to understand why this one's maybe so big, or that there's two?
Sure, yeah.
Or this
go ahead,
one's different?
Make an Arcana roll.
That is a 16.
16. The best that you can tell would be the other rifts that you've seen, things were being sucked into it. This one, things seem to be pouring into this one. You're not really sure if that's exactly related to why this one is bigger, but that is definitely something that just jumps out to you.
I will relay this information in the most deadpan way possible.
So, the Circle of Wrath has a feature at 6th level called Way of the Wind. It says you gain the ability to find your way even in extremely inclement weather. And then it also has this ability to, using like a 10-minute meditation, you can roll a d20, and if you get an odd number, you determine the weather for the next 8 hours. And switch that. Even is 8 hours, odd is 4 hours. I'm wondering if I can use it to sort of determine if at any time the wind is going to let up. Like, does it ebb and flow, or is it going to be constantly blowing this hard for the next 4 hours to 8 hours?
I like that. Is that just like an ability that you have to meditate for it? Is that what that was?
Yeah, it's like a ritual kind of, it looks like. I can only do it once per short or long rest.
Okay. Yeah, I would say if you wanted to, you could sit down and like start getting that ready. Yeah, the rest of you just see Vex like drop down. What does the ritual look like as you're sitting up?
It's really funny because it, like, at first Vex would look like anyone else would in a stiff wind, like hair blowing all over the place. But as soon as she like sits down and finds her center, her hair goes down and she's no longer affected by the wind while she's sort of in this trance. And it's basically just still like that, just meditation for 10 minutes. She does not move at all.
I think there's this moment where like the camera hears the wind, you know, like the wind is just blowing everywhere, and then it gets like into Vex's bubble, and it's just
like she's in the eye of a storm kind
exactly.
of. Yeah.
Exactly. What do the rest of you do while you see Vex drop down?
Vex, what specifically are you doing with your meditation? I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's like it's technically for predicting weather, but I'm trying to see if it will give me an idea if the wind that's coming out of the rift is like a constant unnatural wind that's never going to let up. It's always going to be blowing at the same speed, or do we have a chance like where it slows down for a couple minutes kind of thing?
I don't know, Carrie, how you feel about guidance use multiple times, but okay, cool, because I want to be Oprah with guidance. Like everybody gets one, so I will.
Listen,
come over.
I am like the
I also have guidance.
strict GM you will ever know.
Okay.
My home group always used it like a nose boop. Like we'd be like, here you go, before you go, boop. You know.
I love that. I love it. So I'll come over. Is it like an actual bubble, or is it just that you're only unaffected by the wind and it's still going everywhere?
You can't. Yeah, it would be. You wouldn't be able to really perceive it, other than that it just seems like she's got like this aura of calm around her.
Okay.
I'm just picturing like the wild wind everywhere, just approaching. Just.
Reese will kind of power against the storm as naturally as one can, and then just sit next to Vex, and use the shoulder touch to pass guidance.
So Vex can feel it, and she's kind of like trying to pretend like she didn't like really like and appreciate that, but you can tell like she smirks a little, like she's this calm figure, but like you can see that she can feel the support, and she smiles.
I love that the wind
ever so slightly.
Still beating me up though in this moment. Like I'm just I love it.
So I'm gonna conjure two air elementals to help me get around here in this wind.
Fantastic. What does that look like? Like where do they come from? Do they just materialize, or like do they come up out of something?
I think Locke is going to take their staff and kind of spin it around as they're murmuring the spell, and then from the tip of their staff, like the wind starts to kind of like congregate together, and finally until it makes a form, and then it's gonna split itself in half, and now there's two of them.
Locke, you can create such amazing things with your wind. I had no idea that you could do that.
Well, when you are in touch...
In canon, you're shouting. Because it's so...
Yeah. Well, when you spend so much time learning about the elements, you're able to do cool things.
Hold on. Do I have Ricola? I think I have Ricola in my phone.
gotta
I'm just gonna like amplify everyone's recording and just have a wind track going.
Oh my god, yes. That's awesome.
I'm so tempted to go get my fan and just yeah.
I need my hair just blowing.
Yeah, like a wind sound from this.
Yes.
It's a little bit, yeah. Is Capine doing anything?
No, she doesn't. I mean, she's probably just like in awe of exactly where we are, and she'll actually pull out like a notebook, but like have a hard time like holding on to it because of all of the wind, and she's
the pages are like flipping everywhere, and you're like yeah, I think it's a mix of like inspiration, but then also like because you are built more for battle, like you're keeping keeping your eyes peeled, and while everyone is busy, you know, conjuring these elementals, doing this ritual, you're kind of keeping an eye out for the group itself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You're like the wind beneath our wings.
Okay, so we'll say, are you doing anything in specific with these? What did I just say? Are you doing anything specific with these elementals, or are they just kind of like shielding, like basically shielding you from the wind?
Yeah, that's I'm hoping that they're just helping us be able to
Cool.
work through this wind for the time being, unless something else happens. Then they're
Cool,
here for
so-
other stuff.
Yeah, the few minutes pass by, and Vex, you, I will say, to your understanding, these winds have only gotten harder over time.
I was afraid of that. Okay, bad news, everybody. This wind is not like any wind I've ever felt before. It's not gonna stop at any point, and if anything, it's just getting stronger. So we're gonna have to find some way to close these while it's beating on us like this.
All right, time for one of my patented list questions.
I live for these. These are the best.
Multi-step processes with sources. So I have two diverging paths here. The first one, so I have a fun little spell called Augury. That basically lets me ask the DM for a hint, kind of. Basically, I cast out a divination tool of my choosing and receive an omen from an otherworldly entity about the results of a specific course of action that I plan to take within the next 30 minutes. I don't know how sentient nature around us is, but the vibe I want to get at is projecting into this plane like, hey, are you like a hurt animal in which we are helping you by closing this thing? Are you completely neutral and therefore have no life, or is there some sort of malevolent force at work here? Like, kind of what are we dealing with in that respect? It's thematically appropriate. I've never used this spell before, but basically I want to use it if possible, because it's kind of a bending a little bit, to have the otherworldly entity that I'm reaching out to be the plane around us.
So do we have to tell it what our plan is?
I was gonna say, I think from the sound of it, it is. You'll come up with a plan, and then you'll be like, "Hey, plane, is this a good idea?"
I thought
well, let's circle up. Let's think about this. What about
you've got the elementals like surrounding you right now.
We've got the elementals. We could use them to push closer. Like let's say Laka's, if she could get one to spin clockwise and the other one to spin counterclockwise, then we could walk behind them and get really close because it would push the wind this way. Mm-hmm. And then maybe you could ask the entity, like, what would happen if we freeze the waterfall? Because did you say there's a waterfall coming down? Like near where the wind is coming out?
The wind is rushing and being sucked in.
Mm-hmm.
The waterfall is spilling out.
Yeah, because I was also thinking, I could call lightning real quick and see what happens with... Actually.
Remember I told you not to touch anything? But what if you touch stuff?
Would I be allowed to touch the water this time?
I will make an amendment that you can touch the water and not forfeit your song. If you die, you lose the song, though.
Oh. I'll have it in my dreams forever, though, I'm sure. So I think this is, she's going to call lightning. We're going to center it, right above that waterfall for 120 feet. So what happens here is Capine takes a moment and kind of conjures up, like, the image of this, mentally conjures up the image of this storm, like, appearing over appearing over the waterfall, and she'll pull out the pan flute and play a quick tune on it, and from the pan flute you see like mist and like the cloud itself form out of the tubes of the pan flute and form above the waterfall, where lightning then starts to what happens, Carrie?
So then a bolt comes down to like slam into the waterfall. That's the goal.
Yeah.
All right.
Do I have to roll an attack?
I'm gonna have you roll 1d10.
Oh,
Noted.
that's a 7.
A 7. So as this lightning bolt slams down, you almost see it like split the water in a sense for a second. As the bolt slams into it, you see the arcs kind of go down both sides and like shoot into the rift itself. You hear the crackling,
Okay,
but the water still flows.
that's good. So if you kept doing that and the water's going in the rift and we're somehow able to freeze it or turn it to something else, then it could block the hole.
I believe as long she like takes a like as long as she continues playing the music, the spell keeps going. So as long I'll keep it going as long as possible.
Maybe if it was cold enough, it wouldn't. The water behind it would be blocked too, or we could try some other way to block where the water's coming out after we freeze it.
I am humbly requesting another bending of a spell because we're not in combat. So I have absorb elements, and I want to do something absolutely off the wall, if possible. Water bend / air bend, whichever one seems to make the most sense. And while like in combination with wind wall, maybe to seal the rift.
I think that is an excellent idea. Whose idea was it to freeze things? Vex, do you have like a freezing spell?
Yeah, it's kind of like burning hands, but with ice. It's like a cone.
Okay. Because with one of you like pushing wind and one of you pushing water, you could basically make like a
Yeah.
Seal.
yes.
And I feel like even the lightning would
freeze.
help because it'll like splinter everything where it needs to go.
Yeah, a lightning bolt from I
Throw
think
elements at it.
All
I
at the
think
same time.
I think this
It's,
sounds like an excellent
Power
idea.
combined.
This is like some
oh my
Power
God.
Rangers type stuff. I love it.
Oh, I was
This-
thinking Captain Planet.
Captain Planet.
Yes,
Captain
bio
Planet.
powers combined.
Nice.
Whose heart? Is Carrie Heart?
Carrie.
Because
I think Carrie's
Carrie's GM.
I have no idea what we're talking about.
Hey, Captain Planet.
Right, we just came up with our super cool plan. Do we want to do the super cool plan? Or do we want to ask if the super cool plan is an idea? I am game for either one.
I still have the lightning going. Call lightning is a 10-minute concentration spell. So it's still going.
I keep remembering that the wind is still like but in a windless world, or perhaps not, actually. We're gonna roll with it.
Well, and here's the thing is the elementals that are here are kind of like shielding you
Ooh,
a little bit from the wind, so you can have some stillness if you'd like.
Nice. So Reese kind of squares her bare shoulders, biceps, and she will find a seat. Well, she's actually already kind of next to Vex, probably still. So she'll just sit down. No warning, she'll just sit. And that weird sort of like bleeding effect that happens at like the edges of her being will get kind of worse as she begins to concentrate. And like the dark stars and inky matter that are coming off of her will change, and you see like a mirror of the world around us, like almost as if she's starting to blend into that realm instead. And then while that happens and her eyes are closed, like her irises start to glow from behind her eyelids, and then she opens her eyes and reaches into her side pouch and what are my divination tool options? Oh,
I'm consulting the bones.
I will consult the dragon bones, because that's a sick option. Where did I get them from? Lore. So I will pull out from a leather pouch at my side some dragon knuckle bones or claw bones or something like that, and they are carved with runes and they look well worn. And I will toss them and inquire to the universe within. I don't know if this is an out loud question or if this is like an in my mind question, but I will inquire.
So you're basically like telling this plan and just wanting some sort of sign of whether it's a good or bad idea.
I imagine that Reese can see things happening before they happen in a way. So she sees like what they want to do playing out, and she's like transmitting that image to be like, yeah, or yeah.
Okay. We'll say for flavor to like
Like a
Laka
Life is
and-
Strange decision
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
That's what I'm picturing in my head, where everything stops.
yeah. And Laka and Vex are like preparing to begin casting and everything. As you're asking this, you throw out these bones. You hear them like clatter down in front of you, and then you see them like twitching. You see them twitch and move. Some of them slide over. You see some of them lift up into the air, and the bones, they begin basically sucking in some of the wind from the earth elementals themselves. You see just a little bit of wind is pulled in, enough to like make this bone connect to this bone. And then you see it happen again on the other side, and then you see it growing upward. It's creating a torso. It's creating then arms, more like only going down to like the elbows. It creates a face, almost as if it's trying to become a form that is familiar, a form that is relatable. And as it does this, you hear, "Stop! What are you doing?" All of
this
this.
is a nightmare.
Looking Capine's direction, like with fear in my glowing eyes, because I don't know what we're talking to. This could be one of the original gods.
And then you hear, "Please tell me this is the only one. Please tell me this is the only one you've tampered with."
Reese will slow blink like a cat, and then why?
You hear the voice is coming as if like coming and going from wind. And you, at the why, that seems to like give this being the answer to the question, and you just hear like this anger. You have no idea what you've done. You think these rifts weren't put here for a reason? Energy has to flow, energy has to go somewhere, or it will erupt. These rifts were formed by the guardians of the realms to maintain order and control. What have you done?
Because Liz doesn't have an answer, Reese is just gonna stare wide-eyed and like turn to everybody.
Yeah, what is everyone's reaction to this?
So I'm guessing they like the plan?
No, we've made a grave mistake. Turning back to the creature, we mean no harm. We were simply instructed this way. How do we assist? How do we make this right?
And at this point, the ground beneath you shakes and trembles. And you look at the rip that leads into another plane, and you see inside. You can see as the tear grows wider, you can see into this rift. You can see fire bursting in from one side. You can see earth and vines bursting in from another side. You see the fire turning to lava and smoke. Something screams behind you, and you look up at the skies, where you see from the clouds, vines are bursting, earth is falling, rock begins showering down onto this plane, and you see the form that has created from your spell, like the shoulders slump. And you hear very quietly, with no sense of anger this time, only a sense of remorse and defeat. You hear, "It's too late." And then you are ripped from your feet. No more than that, you're ripped from the plane itself in a vortex, a whirlwind of planes and existences all around you as you feel almost your form stretch and crack and rip into multiple planes of existence. You see flashes that I can only equate to one word at a time, that you, the player, will understand, but the character probably does not. Steel, time, space, skyscraper, dust, ocean, slaughter, dark, light, mud, cave, blood, galaxy, ship, glass, sky, hell, clouds, grass, depths, bike, airship, orb, tomb, explosion, arena, spy, shard, mutant, gun, zombie, sword, wheel, stars, drive, shield, inflicted, earth, air, fire, water, and then bam, you feel yourself slam down onto the ground. Pain surges through your bodies, confusion clouds your mind, and you're beginning to look around. You don't recognize anything about where you're standing. And when I say that, I mean you don't recognize anything about where you are standing. The ground is a ground in the sense of it's where you landed. It's where your feet are when you move to stand up. But it's soft and rubbery. The sky is a sky in the sense of it is what surrounds above you. But it's dark and it's purple. All around you, you see pulsating structures growing and retracting into the ground as if they are a part of it. Changing height, width, shape, moving like solids, but then changing to move like liquids. And you hear the sounds, pulsing and bass tones all around you, whale sounds, but like a crackle of fire. What would you like to do?
What the hell?
Head count. Are we all present? Okay, cool.
You are all together.
Reese is content.
Dude, what happened?
I didn't. This wasn't me. Mm-mm.
I'm confused. Why did they send us to do this if it was bad?
Reese is having an internal crisis because she is a protector by nature and just did something very, 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 very bad without knowing. So she's kind of like, she's just going through it right now. She's going to take a corner. Take a 5.
Okay.
Can I do an insight check?
On.
Like a vibe check. I
Okay.
would love to take a vibe check. Like a general vibe check.
Go ahead and make an insight check.
Because I feel like this transportation, actually teleportation is probably the better word, feels very reminiscent of the kind of teleportation it took to get to the Feywild and get lost up there, and it feels very dreamlike out here. So I'm just gonna do that's a dirty 20.
Okay. You're right. This is very much like a dream, but it's not like any good dream you've ever had. This is like every nightmare you've ever had. And I'll say with that, as you're kind of watching things move and pulse and grow in the distance, the ground beneath your feet, it almost feels not like it's breathing, not like it's an animal you're standing on or anything like that, but the ground itself feels alive.
Can I pull out that teleportation device that we've been using and see if it can maybe identify at least where we're at.
Sure. You take that out, and there are no symbols on it at all.
Oh, lovely. We're in limbo.
I'm just gonna try to use my mold earth cantrip on the ground here to see if it does anything. Like, is this normal earth that I would be able to dig or excavate normally?
All right, you put your hand out. Nothing happens.
That's what I thought.
And I do light and see if anything happens.
Light?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Light cantrip.
Yeah, you can cast light.
Oh, and it happens?
It does.
Okay. Well, we know we have our magic.
Okay.
That's something.
But definitely this, whatever we're standing on, is not like any material I've ever worked with.
At this point, you hear like that sort of whale sound again, but it's more bassy than a whale sound. But you kind of hear that stretch out, and you see a little piece of the ground right beside you come up to a sharp point and fall back down, and come up to a sharp point with Capin's like voice, almost like a mic level, like with the voice as she's talking.
Does it look like something that would hurt?
They look sharp, but it's also like you can feel the ground is rubbery, so you're not really sure.
I'd like to try to feel the ground or listen to it. I'm worried about getting a spike in my ear, but I want to see if there's like a heartbeat.
Okay, go ahead and make a perception check.
If I were to tap my staff on the ground and make a sound, will that also react to it?
You like tap it. It doesn't actually make noise.
But it doesn't make a spike either.
Correct.
I got a 23.
23. Are you like putting your ear to the...
What the hell? Yes.
It's like the equivalent of like, do you say that out loud? No,
I just do it.
Yeah, you lean down and put your ear to the ground, and you hear, if possible to differentiate, like 100 things at once. You can hear rumbling, you can hear almost like the movements of every single one of these like pulsing land masses all around you. You can hear everything moving, sliding, gliding, grinding together. You can hear, almost as if you were like underwater, Capin's voice as she's talking above, like vibrating into the ground itself.
I feel like maybe this thing is like alive somehow. What?
Formulating. It's happening. So sorry. So, okay. I have two questions. The first question: if I feel my body and then give a, with consent, poke to each of my companions, are we physical?
Yes.
Okay. Yikes. Second question. Being Circle of Stars, do I have any connections to the astral plane that I would know about that I might be able to use in this scenario, or to learn more or do anything?
I'm gonna say that if you were in the astral plane, yes. But you're not.
Oh.
Interesting. Horrifying, but interesting.
At this
Okay.
point, I'm gonna have all of you roll a d20.
Oh no.
I don't like this at all, Carrie. What have you put me in?
Even worse, I rolled a nat 1.
Oh fuck.
Oh no.
No. I got a 12.
I got a 19.
I got a 15.
Okay. So, I will have Reese and Laka make a dexterity saving throw for me.
Oh no.
Oh wait, I think guidance is only ability checks. That is correct. I was like, I was gonna help. It didn't work. Dexterity saving throw?
Yes. Okay. So,
She
what
said,
was
hopefully.
what was Laka's second roll?
A 19.
19. Okay, so you're going to each take half damage, which will be 5 points of damage, as at the same time, you kind of like spot it behind each other. I'll say that like Laka and Reese probably see it first behind Vex and Capine, and there's this moment of like warning, but then that moment of warning is what kind of like caught both of you off guard as you see that same like spike of audio wave almost. One is coming up behind each of you, and you see it comes up and then it turns at like exactly a right angle to move to impale all of you. And you're able to kind of like move out of the way. Since you both succeeded that dex save, it like rips into your arm and you're kind of flung away, kind of land down on the rubbery surface, and you see all of these spikes kind of like pulling back and forming like more and more and more as it's almost like looking for you and looking in your direction. I'm gonna have everyone roll initiative.
What?
Against the plane?
Carrie, I never know where your fucking games are going.
I love
An,
it.
an 18
I'm like-
for Laka.
I'm just gonna seal these 4 things and then go home. It'll be fine.
No, it's never that simple. Every time Carrie says anything and I have a look of fear, it's because it's founded in past experience.
Laka and Reese, you're up first. What would you like to do?
After you.
So, where are these sound spikes?
They are they were like surrounding you, and now they've all like combined into like a group of like the like needles on Jennifer's body that were like puked up, you know, on the floor. That's kind of what they look like, but in a larger scale.
I'm gonna take out like this black stone of a city, and then I'm gonna strike it with my staff, and it's just going to make a fountain of churned earth and stone.
All right. So you watch as all of this like earth and stone begins like spilling, basically probably like from the staff itself, and like slinging towards these spikes. You watch as these spikes move. They kind of like move out of the way of a lot of these stones. They're like spinning and kind of like moving in your direction. You see some of them, it slams into it and it chips, almost like an ice crystal. Kind of like snaps off, and then you see where it snapped off, it seems to be like growing further, like a lizard regrowing its tail sort of thing, like just starts growing back out. And then you watch as all of these spikes are moving. You see like the more liquid movements you saw earlier kind of come up and cradle the stones, and you see the actual material, whatever this material is, like beginning to consume these stones as you see it like pulling the stones just into it further. Reese, what would you like to do?
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. It's always the new scary thing, and then I have my turn. Okay. As these spikes are moving, are they staying above ground, or are they disappearing? Like, are they kind of groundhog situation?
So they're still connected to the ground. But they're not like popping back under or anything. They're still just moving in your direction.
Okay. So then I would like to, in a manner that won't affect my comrades and will give us some room to maneuver, I would like to cast Entangle, which does not say I need earth or plants or anything. It just spawns them from the ground. In a 20-foot square, starting from a point within range. For the duration, these plants turn the ground in the area into difficult terrain. A creature in the area, when you cast the spell, must succeed on a strength saving throw or be restrained by the entangling plants until the spell ends. A creature restrained can use its action to make a strength check against your spell save DC. On a success, it frees itself, and when the spell ends, the plants wilt away.
Okay.
I'm hoping to like pierce the stones with the vines and really like a Christmas tree situation, really tie them down if I can.
Okay. And that's a strength saving throw?
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, as you are casting this, where you see whatever this ground is, whatever this material is, split slightly as a vine begins coming out of it. But as soon as it does, you see whatever this material is covering it. You see it moving and adapting and pulsing, and you see it moving around the spikes as if attempting to entangle it, but it's like this material itself is taking over the element that was cast. And with that, as you see the swallowing of the stones and the earth, you can see everything inside what was stone and what was earth is now that rubbery material.
Bonus action starry form. So Reese's joints, where that sort of effect, that bleeding effect is happening, it consolidates and Reese's joints ignite into blazing dying stars to form almost like the silhouette of Orion. It's kind of hard to look at, I'd imagine. And I'm going to go form of Archer. So the constellation of an Archer appears on you when you activate this form. And as a bonus action on your subsequent turns while it lasts, you can make a ranged spell attack, hurling a luminous arrow that targets one creature within 60 feet of you. On a hit, the attack deals radiant damage equal to 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier. I'm a shoot it.
Okay. Yeah, so you slam this radiant damage into these spikes, and you see pieces and shards crumble off, and you notice as they are like busted off and they hit the ground, they immediately melt into the ground itself. And you watch the spikes just beginning to grow back. It does appear that what damage you are doing, it's like reacting to it. It is feeling it, but like by looking at it, it doesn't look like anything has happened because it just grows back these spikes. Is that your turn?
Yes, I'm gonna stay where I'm at.
I want to do my thunderclap cantrip, but I kind of want to make it like, instead of just sound, I want to like lend my voice as the sound. And I want to just say in primordial, well, I'm doing it. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
As you shout that out, you watch as the spikes tremble and just disappear into the ground itself. And for a moment, all you hear is your own voice echoing out. And then you feel just the ground almost like vibrating with your voice for a moment. And then you see more spikes coming up all around you, taller, larger, coming up almost like, the Fortress of Solitude, in a sense, coming up to like slam into each other and like collide and crack into each other over you, almost like trying to trap you, pushing up over you. It hasn't fully like trapped all the way around, but that's what seems to be happening with like the movement of this thing. Is that your turn?
Guys, that was either really good or really, really bad. Yeah, that's my turn. She does not know what to do now.
I think I want to cast confusion on whatever this is. Yeah, so she's gonna cast confusion on it.
Okay.
And it needs to make a wisdom saving throw. DC 16.
You watch as all of whatever this material is coming up, trying to trap you. And then there's just this crunching sound that almost seems louder than it should be, because it's like echoing off of this strange material, almost like it's being amplified by it. And as it crunches, all of the material stops for a moment. So there's this moment, Capine, because you can probably tell that the spell didn't work. But for a moment, it seems like it did, because the material around you stops. And you're like, it worked. But then you're slowly realizing that it didn't. And that gives you this whole sense of dread, almost realizing how sentient whatever this is how smart
hate
it is,
this.
how adaptable it is. And on its turn, you see, since it's over you, it is just going to slam down and try to crush all four of you. Just make a dexterity saving throw again, because there are little pieces where it didn't get to surround you from before, so there is a chance that we can get out of here.
We're all doing saves?
Yeah, dex save.
Okay.
What was the DC?
The DC was 12.
Oh, I just missed it.
Those that succeeded, you are going to take 11 points of damage.
No.
Vex, you're gonna take 22 points of damage.
Oh
Yikes.
As this ground slams down, we're gonna say you're all able to like dive out of the way, and then as it slams down, it's gradually beginning to like melt back into the earth, but you see one section like still over Vex, almost like a sheet over a bed, like suffocatingly so, laying over Vex, and the three of you are able to see that. We'll say temporarily we are out of initiative just to see what the reaction to this is.
When I spoke earlier, did I get the sense that it could understand what I was saying?
Yeah.
I would like to try to charm it. I have this ability with my circle called Tempest's Tongue, where it says if there is, I can attempt to influence an elemental or primordial being who must succeed on a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC or become charmed by you. On a successful save, the target remains hostile and may lash out in response.
Okay. So I make the save or you make the save?
You do a charisma save.
Okay.
Yeah, my D6 is so ready. I'm here. Reese is ready to cry.
I got an 18.
Wait, what is it? I think, I can't remember if mine was 15 or 16. Let me look.
You got an 18?
I got an 18.
Oh, so can you subtract the 3?
I can roll. I roll a D6. So.
But wait, let me make sure it's 16 and not 15 though.
I have a few uses of this, so I'm not. We'll see what happens. I dropped it. Please hold. That's a 5.
So, okay. So what happens, Vex, is you are completely closed in, whatever this material is. It is dark. What do you say?
I say, oh, hey, we got to stop meeting like this. It'd be really great if you could help us instead of trying to kill us. That would be like super cool. And I'd love to like learn more about you and get to know you better after all this crazy stuff is over.
Okay. Yeah. You know when like someone says something and your brain doesn't quite comprehend it yet and it takes you a minute to understand what they said?
Every day.
Yeah.
Right? This is like reverse of that. You understand this immediately, but the more milliseconds that pass after hearing it, the less you understand it, like the words are jumbling. But all you hear is, you're not supposed to be here. And you feel basically like the material rip above you and like push you out, pretty much. Pushes you over to your companions who are standing there like trying to figure out how to get you out of, out of this thing, whatever, out of the earth, whatever you want to call it. And as you slam down, you see the skies darken. This purple is like twisting and turning, and you almost see like what looks like claws kind of like reaching down towards you. You can see structures in like your peripheral vision stretching out towards you, almost looking like tree branches that kind of stretch and almost like beckon you to them. And then you hear a sound familiar only to those who travel through planes. You hear something rip in the skies, and you see light shining through. As the four of you are standing there, you see the skies reaching for you, threatening to grab you, and threatening to the earth reach up for you as well and stretch you out of existence. You can see whatever in your peripheral vision stretching towards you. The world is closing in on you, and then you see the skies open. And Kaz, what do they see as your character is approaching?
You don't see much except a very large hulking figure in front of you, and then you see this like glint of metal, and suddenly that metal becomes just this very warm gold armor that you see approaching you. This person is wearing this very strange, almost eagle-like helmet, and then they begin to take it off, and this long hair begins to unfurl. You see it is parted straight down the middle, and the right side is completely shaved down to the skin. There are these giant claw marks that have just sunk itself into the sort of skull of this person. You see this, they probably stand about 8 feet tall. They are large. There's this blue cloak that sort of hangs off of them. And you can see as they get closer that their eyes are this very bright blue color that sort of like, you almost see what looks like lightning sort of spark in them for a second. And then she gets closer and she looks at you and she goes, "Sigmar, save us. What the fuck is going on?" That's what you see.
And yeah, all of you fear like your surroundings are slowly getting closer. It's not like you only have seconds, but you feel this plane closing in on you.
Can you help us get out of here?
Where did you come from? What are you doing here?
I don't know on both counts.
We were
We
in the
were
plane of
trying to
air.
close some rifts. It didn't work. And then we were here.
Apparently,
Rifts.
closing the rifts are bad is what we learned. Apologies for that. That wasn't very protector-like.
Oh, protectors. Stormcast protectors? You aren't wearing armor. Like mine.
It doesn't fit the aesthetic.
Oh, it fits the aesthetic of, and she kind of like motions to the other people who are also very large, at least 8 or 9 feet tall around her, who are also wearing gold armor.
Reinforcements. This never happens in a carry game. Love this.
I will also note this word Stormcast, you have no idea what that is.
Reese will nod as if she knows what that means.
I don't know what that is, but we're kind of like, I guess, mercenaries. We were asked to come down and go to the elemental planes and seal these rifts because that would solve the problem. But
So elemental planes, Shayesh, Azir, are any of those names, is that where you came from?
more like fire, earth, wind, and what we thought would be water next, but before we could seal the one in the wind plane, we got ejected and landed up here.
Strange. So you were trying to close portals,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? And now you're here. Okay.
But this
I'm gonna have all of the Dungeons and Dragons players to roll a wisdom saving throw for me.
Hey, what does that mean?
Wait, what does that mean?
What does that mean, Carrie?
Harry, remember how we talked about Captain Planet and we said you would be the heart? What happened?
What changed? Wait, what are we rolling?
Wisdom saving
Wisdom
throw.
save.
I got a 17 plus 7, so 24.
17.
My
for
hands are
me.
shaking so bad, I dropped my d20. If you will excuse me a moment.
I rolled a 25.
Okay.
Nice.
What is
What
happening?
is happening?
I'm confused.
I love being on the other side of this, Carrie. It's so nice.
Right? Doesn't it feel good?
What is that? Me.
She's from another dimension.
Fear, a 19.
Okay.
We love wisdom-based characters.
All right. So did everyone get above an 18?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I got a 17.
Okay. This feeling is, it's felt by all of you, but I would like to know why Laka is having a harder time with it once I explain what this feeling is. As the skies are coming in to consume you, and as the world around you is moving in to clutch and grab and try to slice into you, as it's getting closer and closer and closer, all of you feel just this looming sense of dread, as if there's just no hope left, just a very strong feeling of doom.
Ugh, my parents are gonna feel so guilty that they got me killed.
What is Laka's kind of reaction to that? Is it something that the rest of the party sees, or is it internal?
I think it's more internal because Laka's kind of like poised, but they're having a hard time grasping everything. It just seems very unnatural. So they're just rejecting the idea entirely and trying to find reason with it, but can't seem to find it.
And this new figure that seems to have led these other figures down to the ground of this plane seems to feel this too, but it's a little more familiar.
What have you brought with you? I feel something. Something that doesn't feel like... It doesn't feel good. It feels like chaos. What have you brought with you?
In the realm of chaos, does anything in this plane, anything, even our new friends here, feel remotely like when I called upon whatever I called upon in the air plane? Does that was so emotionally charged, and I just want to unpack that.
Okay. I am going to say no. This feels almost directly opposite. While that was full of emotion and intent and care, this is beingless.
What?
You guys, when I was laying, the thing was gonna fall on me. I tried to communicate with it and it said, "You're not supposed to be here." And then it spit me out. And then this person came. So
We're in a cycle of being spit out of places. We're not.
yeah, maybe that's what you're feeling. It's definitely some sort of sentient rubber being.
Whatever it is, I don't want it here. I want it gone. And I will do it myself, if that means even doing whatever I need to do. Where is this rift that you came from?
And with that, as you're glancing around, any remnants of the rift are covered now by this plane itself. I will say, you will have to leave this rift, and there's only one way to take them with you.
Okay. Well, I have a very dumb idea, and I am pretty sure I will lose my position and my rank if I decide to say something about this. But given the fact that I do not like this feeling of impending doom upon us, be it whatever it is, Nagash, Korn, whoever it is, whatever you've brought with you, I don't want it here, and I have something that we could potentially do to make sure that you can get rid of this, but it does require you coming with me. Permanently.
What? Coming with you where?
I sort of motion behind me, and I just go, to the realm of Azir, to our home, where we are amongst Sigmar's people.
When you say come with you permanently, what do you intend to do to the place that we leave?
Close it, shut it down forever, do whatever it needs. But it's not going to be me that does it, it's going to be you. This thing that I have, this idea I have, is something that we call a binding. It's a ritual, an arcane ritual that ends up binding champions to an ancient order of heroes. Those who take part in the binding then become a group called Soulbound. They have the power of each other and can do more than one person can achieve by themselves. Sometimes in a lifetime.
What's going to happen to the people from our world?
Will they be stuck forever?
Potentially. I am not sure what happens tends to... When we close places like this, it shuts in whatever is happening on that end.
And I will say, none of you feel like this plane is connected to the prime material plane.
Okay.
You have traveled through multiple planes. Leaving and closing this one would close
Just
this plane.
I want to try and reach out to whatever that was I talked to before, just before we leave. With Augury again.
Go ahead and make an Arcana roll.
Or Arcana. That's good too. That's not good. A 15?
Okay. I will say there's a moment where you are attempting to reach out to this thing. You are attempting to cast this spell. Whatever you made contact with in the plane before, it's not here. And in fact, there's a moment where you're beginning to reach out, and then you kind of, if you could feel this material spiking in your mind, that's what you begin to feel, and you immediately stop.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, if I go back home, I've got to choose between two things I don't really want to do, so I'm coming.
I don't really have a home right now, so it's better than nothing.
Here to help in any way I can. So
The people I have, I'm looking at, so I will follow them.
Aw. Okay, I guess we're in. What do we have to do?
Well, I won't coddle you. It's gonna hurt like a bitch.
Come
At least the ones that were awake have told me. But I will let you know, I've been reforged 12 times over. I know that the pain is what brings me closest to Sigmar himself, so just know that that's what that pain is. It's the power of gods flowing through you.
Feeling like I should have asked some more questions. What is Soulbound?
Who's Sigmar?
As it's like
Yeah.
coming in.
I feel like we don't have a lot of talk.
Actually, hold on.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Can you give us a minute?
Wait.
We don't have much time. Sigmar, God King, ascended god of civilization and progress, patron deity of men, lord of the realm of Azir, etc., etc. Do I need to say more? Soulbound, heroes of a very ancient order. They are bound to whatever the fuck binds you. I don't know what it is. I know it's not Sigmar, but hey, it works. So,
You know,
What is
like,
reformed referring to?
reformed?
Reformed.
Oh,
Like formed again. Is that what you said?
reforged.
Forged. Oh, sorry, sorry.
It's something that happens to me. Don't worry, you don't have to deal with it.
yeah.
I die and then I come back to life again. Anyways, it's fine. Let's carry on.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
as we're going to go, I'm just gonna be like, just go along with it. We are a group. We are
Sometimes.
into whatever this is. Please.
All right.
It's better the less questions you ask.
All right.
So, Kaz, what does this look like?
Yeah. She sort of urges you all into sort of like this circle. You all are set about 20 steps from one another into this like green. There's this green energy that you have watched this one Stormcast behind her create with this rod that he carries. And he drags it, and there's this green, almost fiery energy that emits from that circle. She sets you up so that you guys are almost like a diamond in your pattern. And you are all set in that formation. There are about, I'd say there's about 6 of other Stormcasts besides her. They all make points not to step within the circle. You are all within about a foot of that circle. And they all sort of set about 20 steps back from you all. And they just like slam, all of them carry rods, and they all slam their rods into the floor. You hear this like resounding thud in this area that almost like, it feels like as if you're in a like cobblestone chamber of sorts, if that's where they would be in their own material plane of sorts. There's this there's this void that you suddenly feel as you are sort of around this circle, and they begin chanting. You cannot understand any of the words. It makes no sense, but suddenly it's like as if within the few seconds of chanting, you suddenly feel this weird tug deep inside of your chest, and it pulls you towards the person that's on your left, and then it begins to pull you towards the person on your right. And then you feel it just stretches you forward slightly. And it begins to just tug straight towards the middle. You can't help but in that moment close your eyes. Like the chant is lulling you to sleep almost. And then it's almost as if like there is the sound of the chanting, and then it's just dead silent. You don't hear anything around you. That sort of creeping, angry void that was coming up around you suddenly ceases to exist. Time just stops, seconds pass, maybe minutes, maybe hours, you aren't really sure. But then after some time, that tug inside of your chest turns into this ache. It's like there's these metal chains that are wrapping around you, around each other, connected to one another. And then you just feel the rushing of blood in your ears, and then you hear the pounding of your own heart. And then suddenly that heart turns into 4 heartbeats that are just in time with yours, and it's just beating hard in your ears. And then you open your eyes very suddenly. There's this green flash of energy around you all, and then you just hear her say, "It is done. You are now one. Rise, soulbound."
Ow.
Are we still?
Ow.
We still look like ourselves?
You still look like yourselves.
Okay. You said we are all one. I'm like, are we
Yeah. I was like,
But you all can sort of feel each other now. It's almost like you guys
Oh.
can like just feel one another around each other a little bit more present, you know, like you just feel like you can feel each other's emotions and things. So
Okay. Well, thank you for that. What do we do now?
now you got to close the and she sort of like motions to the the
okay.
continuing
As you
void.
begin to see these spikes trying to push their way through this void and kind of like stretch their way out, these like weird sound wave like spikes trying to come closer to you.
So now that you all are combined with one another, you have the ability to use this thing called Soul Fire.
This is going to empower your highest level spell slots.
Yeah. Do you want to also say that you can re-roll a d20?
Yes.
Yeah. The thing is, you all have to agree to it. So no one can just be like, I'm going to use this and just do it without anyone's will, because you all will take damage for that. You all have to agree to someone using this. When you all use it, it's like as if you're tapping into each other's energy. So whoever is casting it, the rest of you should probably be pretty close by so that that person can sap it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can we
The noise is
cast
very
more than
good.
one spell at a time, or is it better to just
I think it's more of amplifying that one spell.
One spell,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So what do folks want to do? Like, do we want to focus on hallucinatory terrain, or do we want to amplify one of somebody else's spell?
you could do like a super strong mending?
That's
Mend the
actually
rat.
not a bad
I
idea.
mean, that's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, actually.
I actually really love that.
So
Yeah.
the rift.
So it.
I mean,
You
we
see
tried
just
to do
like a
that
big-
earlier.
needle.
Yeah.
We tried to sew it earlier, and that's where everything went horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's true.
So in doing this, are you going to make it worse or better?
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully better this time. You know what they say, if you don't get the outcome you expect the first time, do it again the exact same way.
Second time's the charm.
Yeah.
I've heard all of these things. All right, so are we casting mending?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say there is this like you feel this connection to each other. You can almost like feel each other's heartbeats, hear each other's heartbeats. You can feel each other's energies. And there's a moment where you're like looking to everyone else for instruction, but then you look at each other and you see each other's eyes and you know exactly what you're gonna do. And you turn and you look up towards this rift as you see these spikes weaving and like circling down toward you. And the four of you turn to face it. Tell us what this looks like.
So normally you can't even really see too much what's going on with the mending spell, but it's so amplified that it's almost like pixelated. It looks like these little tiny pixels at first that sort of then turn into like Lego brick looking things, and they're stacking and stacking and stacking on each other until it makes like this giant pixelated zipper, and it just like zips right all the way up. And
right.
then it sort of melds just into the surface that was there before.
And as that begins to zip up, I want to see like a piece of the rest of you kind of helping with this. It can be anything as simple as what your magic looked like or whatever it may be. What part of you is amplifying this spell?
I think that for Laka, it's like all the little spores and mushrooms and vines on top of their like skin that's growing just starts to kind of glow. And then there's like little spore dust that kind of just like breaks off and just kind of surrounds Vex, and kind of gets drawn into their power as they're
Nice.
accumulating it. Yeah.
Looks like a ghost in the wind. That sort of inky void that forms the edges of her outline are almost like she's standing like next to a vacuum, just kind of being pulled off of her form. She's just standing monotone and deadpan as always, but it's like this essence is being pulled from her forcefully, and the tears are still running, but they look genuine and of fear. And because we're all like Power Rangers bonded, you probably feel it. But I also think as this essence is pulling off of her, for the very first time, she seems like solid in the plane that she's in. Like as it's leaving her, it's like her purpose is being fulfilled.
For Capine, she starts to play a lullaby on her pan flute, and it's probably the lullaby that has annoyed Vex the most, but I think in this moment is going to be empowering Vex the most. The lullaby begins manifesting itself into creating images that you only see in your dreams. Expansive nebula. You see like a visual manifestation of laughter, like all of that kind of combined into one ball of energy, and it like floats over to Vex and kind of surrounds her in like this warmth, this light that helps boost up this power.
All right, so as this like zipper basically is beginning to push its way up, you see these like floating spores like circling around the zipper itself. You see each time one of these spores touches one of this weird material coming out, as soon as the spore touches it, it retracts, and you can kind of like see things beginning to grow on it as it is retracting in. You can see it kind of taking that over, but it is retracting. And this like inky void coming from Reese spills out, and you can see it's almost like it's hiding it. It's almost like it is shielding the spikes, or shielding you from the spikes, I guess I should say, making it to where the spikes can't see you anymore. You can kind of see like they're trying to jut around all of this like ink and spores, and then the brightness hits. The brightness hits the spikes, and it sounds almost like a musical note pinging through the air as you watch the last of the spikes retract in. And as that zipper-like spell finishes, hits the top, you see it almost like explode out in like a firework of sorts, but it's all like gold, like almost radiant stars falling down onto all of you. And there's a moment of quiet before one of the other stormcasts that was with you, kind of like you hear the footsteps take a couple of steps, looking up at where this tear once was, and he says, "We must prepare for when or where it will get through. Now that it's seen, it's only a matter of time. Soulbound." And he turns to you. "Are you up for the task?"
I mean, I'm up for the task.
Me too.
Yes.
With all our powers combined.
And he says, "Come on then, we have some training to do." And he turns. And that is where our All Druids story ends tonight.
Now I want to play Soulbound.
Like, literally the only thing that's keeping both these horns and my headphones in place is a bun that I have tied to the back of my head.
Thank you so much for joining us, Kaz, because that was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Any chance to be like, yes, hello, please play this game.
I love it
I was like,
when
new person enters the chat. Why? Who?
Welcome to
No.
my games.
It's
love it when you
true.
do that.
It happens often.
I was sitting here twiddling my fingers at like 7:15, and I was like, Carrie, please let me in.
Huh?
Cass! What the heck?
Hello.
Hi!
Hi.